Every 3 months, Trackmania releases a new seasonal campaign with 25 new maps for players to compete in. Players often have different goals for the campaign: gold medals, author medals, top 100, top 10, or even hunt for the overall campaign win. This season, I've decided to push myself to grind for a top 1000 time on each of the 25 new maps. However, due to an overwhelming amount of procrastination, laziness, and general unproductiveness, it has taken months before this video could see the light of day. Or at least the light of my video editor for now. So this challenge is about the summer 2025 campaign instead, starting with me discovering the maps on the 1st of July. The campaign had a bit of everything: dirt, grass, plastic, more dirt, wood, yeah, great. By the way, I play on a keyboard, so these wood maps are just an absolute pain. We even had a classical weight map, except there were checkpoints placed in the scenery, for some reason. Penalty water reactor map, surely nothing stupid is going to happen in here, right? Map number 15 was first of 3 special maps, added for the 5-year anniversary campaign. It was a 5-lap NASCAR-ish kind of tech map, aka hell on earth for most casual players, myself included. I spent 30 minutes on this map, and as I was finally about to get the author medal, yeah. The second special map was number 20. This was a map with 5 different routes, and as I was way too incapable to even get a decent run with each of them, I decided to leave the map early and return once I had checked the route from someone else. Map 21 as usual was a technical map where I couldn't even get close to the gold medal during my discovery. Yeah, I can't wait to hunt this one. On map 22, which was full speed, I got the gold medal with a PF run, but it was 3 seconds too slow for the author time. And I don't know how to speed slide, so that didn't look promising either. The last map of the campaign was a 5-minute trial map, or like sub 4 minutes if you know what you're doing. Or if you're like me, this map was a play for 30 minutes, don't even get the free 5-minute author time, give up and go to bed type of map. This is how my rankings looked at the end of Discovery and the start of the next day. And yeah, somehow I gained 1700 ranks on the overall leaderboard while sleeping, I don't know, maybe they banned a bunch of someone's alts or something. Anyway, on the 2nd of July it was time to start the actual challenge. Map 1 only consisted of a couple of turns and a small jump. As I was struggling to even keep up with my discovery run, I assumed that I had missed something. I experimented with this wide line in the crash section to carry more speed to the ending and also cutting some of the sand, but it wasn't paying off. As I couldn't figure out why I was so slow, I decided to check the current record. So the same as my PB, just faster. Okay, I can do that, I hope. Once I learned to PF harder, I quickly gained a lot of time on my PB for a massive new improve. Oh. Well, at least I could gain a lot on the next finish. To get a good run on this map, I only needed inside lines that avoid as much penalty surfaces as possible, honestly not too bad. Map 2. The second map was a dirt map with a very tricky gear in the start. Now, it was obvious that there were massive no-slide tricks possible, but I figured they weren't needed for top 1000. For the ending, I had 2 competing lines, one of which keeps maximum speed and jumps over the last downhill, and the other one that jumps on the right, landing on the downhill. After a bit of trying, I concluded that the jump line was faster. And yeah, it's not, but not all science has to be correct, right? However, after getting the start gear and avoiding most penalty in the uphill turn, even the jump line was fast enough. Map 3. On the next map, the first time gain I saw was to go wider on the first checkpoint, gaining enough speed to land smoothly on the grass, keeping more speed than my discovery run. Now I just need to survive the map and hit the finish, which was a bit cursed. This was enough for improvement, but there was still one trick to figure out. I found out that it was worth going wider on the second checkpoint as well, as this line gives more speed for the rest of the map. Map 4. In the end, map 4 was pretty boring, mostly coming down to keeping 4th gear and enough speed through this turn, which was a bit trickier than it sounds. Once I got a good turn, I basically just had to PF for the finish line. Very interesting. During my discovery, I figured that map 5 would mostly come down to the quarter pipe jump, but even I don't lose 4 seconds on one jump. I quickly figured out this dirt gear that my BB kind of missed. It didn't take long for me to get a run with a low jump, good gear and a smooth wall hug ending. Now I decided to check the record to see how can you save 3 seconds on that wall ride. What? At this point I got a feeling that something suspicious was about to happen, and as it turned out there was a line I somehow missed during my discovery. Map 6 was a basic tech map, where the time gain mostly comes down to small differences in each corner. In the beginning I was kinda sliding the full speed parts and no sliding the slides, but I was still able to gain time over my suboptimal lines elsewhere. I attempted a very inside line for the finish turn, but it wasn't good enough. Except it was, but I guess I didn't notice? Anyway, after I figured the BF start, drift uphill and saving the ending, I easily got a good enough time, although this map took me the longest so far. This was the second dirt map of the campaign. Kinda like map 2, it also had a gear trick in the start. Outside of that, map 2 actually felt more complex, as the rest of map 7 I was just driving with no special tricks in mind. As I drew closer to my goal, I decided to check the record and found out that the only trick I had for the map was actually incorrect. And of course there is one of these outside lines I can never do. After a bit of start simulation, I got the inside start, as well as the outside dirt line for more exit speed. Not a lot to say about map 8. It was a bit of a confusing map, I didn't understand how to play it and neither did anyone else. Next. We have arrived at the first map I was actually worried about. Wood maps often cause headache for me due to requiring fast reaction time as well as precise steering inputs. As I wasn't able to beat my discovery run, I checked the record to see where was I losing an entire second. And to my horror, it was just a clean run with inside turns without any special tricks. Oh! I figured that if I could pull that off in a run, I would immediately have a fast enough time. But as I even struggled to aim for the tunnel entry, it wasn't looking promising, although I did finally get a new normal APB. Now, I did hit the lamp a couple of times, but it wasn't any good, and it was time to quit for the day anyway. I returned the following day, having lost all the ranks I gained yesterday. However, I kind of just hit the lamp out of nowhere and had more speed for the ending and yeah. Map 10 was a full speed map, and I can't really speed slide. So I thought to myself, I will just drive, overlap my skid marks a little bit and avoid this dirt bump, and hopefully I can gain a good enough run without really knowing what I'm doing. I did actually notice that I can squeeze through the left gap in the start, gaining about a car's length. As I got the run I wanted, I landed on exactly rank 1000. To me, top 1k stands for 3 digits, so I decided to check the record and go for one more improvement. Josh didn't know about the left start line, so I will actually be ahead. What? I mean, bro's just faster, even though we have the same speed. Does a couple of steering taps really lose that much? Anyway, I channeled my inner full speed player, aka gained a bit on the first turn and was able to just about stay ahead the rest of the map. While discovering map 11, I tried to get a better run after the author medal, but wasn't able to find any more time to gain on the map. So seeing myself at rank 12,000 had me absolutely horrified. I think. I mean, it was over 3 months ago, I can't remember, maybe I didn't care. Anyway, I quickly realized that this map is mostly about the speed you keep through this dirt section. Obviously, outside line would be a massive time gain, but I am just absolutely helpless with this stuff. After some playing, I got a run with a decent start, inside drift, outside enough dirt, and I even avoided this crash, somehow. On map 12, it was possible to keep 5th gear through this first turn. It was hard to do, but whenever I got it, I could really tell. Now I just needed to safely finish the map. Oh. After I got this gear again, I got a good enough run without even learning the rest of the map. Map 13 was a penalty surface water map with a suspicious amount of reactor boosters. I was able to get a few PBs without any special tricks, except this one. These water entries were causing most of my headache on this one. Sometimes my car would skip like a rock, losing all of my speed, or sink like another rock while also losing speed. I mean, it's amazing to be on a massive new PB run and then just have your old ghost overtake you out of nowhere. Well, at least I can gain in the ending. As I eventually checked the record, I saw something I never expected. There was no reactor boost nonsense, it was just a good, normal run without anything stupid. I mean, I don't even know what that's about. At some point, I figured out the water entries. Airtime causes the car to skip, and no airtime eats all the penalty sand, losing a lot of speed. So I need a slight airtime from the pumps, avoiding the sand on some of the tires, while still getting the dive. After a bit of playing, I got a good enough time, but I guess again I didn't know this and just kept going, not for one, but 2 more improvements. Well, at least that one is secured. The next map had a lot of water, as well as driving with wet tires. There were so many tricky parts that were hard to even survive, that once I just survived a run with a decent end, I immediately got it, although it took a while. Map 15 was the first map where I didn't get the author medal during the discovery. This was a pretty simple map with no real tricks to gain time. It just came down to playing the game for 2 minutes without major mistakes, which I really struggled with. After 2 new PBs, I still didn't beat the author time, and when I was finally on a good enough run on lap 5, this happened. As I finally kept my nerves together on the final lap and beat the author time, I was shocked to see over 7,000 players still ahead of me. I mean, do you guys like NASCAR around in real life or what? Anyway, after failing the NASCAR part and other parts, I eventually PB'd again, but it still wasn't enough. So I kept failing the NASCAR part, and well, just the NASCAR part mostly, until I finally got a good enough time. Wait, wasn't this guy like a pro player? I mean, bro just got washed. Map 16 was mostly a grass map, featuring a nice little backslide. Or so I thought. I believed in the backslide, but I just couldn't keep enough exit speed out of it. One trick on the map was to keep 4th gear in the ending, but that wasn't hard at all. As I didn't really understand the map, I checked the record and picked up an inside start line. Also, the record was able to keep 5th gear in the ending. Wait, that's sus. It turned out to be an issue with the skin, as I used the light at the back of the car to see what gear the car is on. So the outcome of the analysis was to kind of just drive better. The third dirt map of the season, and another start with tricky gears, but on this map I was able to cook something of my own. I figured that by going right of this pillar, I could keep a smoother line and have more speed from this uphill turn. And yeah, it was possible with a left side line and a no slide, but this was way easier. Now, I don't have much more to say about the map, because I just kept 3rd gear in the start, hit my right side line with a decent end and got what I wanted. I think that map 18 was one of the more challenging maps of the season. My issues with this map were mostly wood, wet wood, and fast wood, surprisingly. I was able to PB kind of quickly, but once I remembered that weather grid goes faster on wood, I was just zooming. As I get the most speed I've ever had out of the wet wood section, I had gained so much time I could do anything and still be fast enough. Well, anything but this. On the next court run, I got past the faster part, but somehow saved the drift so badly I almost lost all my advantage. Still got it though. Map 19 had an interesting twist, where it was based around driving without the engine. Maps like this are so snowball heavy that by keeping a little bit more speed on one section you can immediately gain over a second. which still isn't enough for top 1k because, you know, everyone else is snowballing too. After gaining another second out of thin air, I was getting closer to the rank I wanted. On runs where I fell behind, I tried to jump over this pool to avoid some of the penalty grass, but getting it good enough felt kinda hard. However, I found another trick. Towards the end of the map, it was possible to jump over some penalty, keeping more speed for the final section. As it still wasn't enough, I checked the current record and I saw a line through the CP triangle that made so much sense. I don't understand how I didn't think of that. And yeah, of course the pool jump is possible. As I got my first run with the new triangle line, I kept losing speed through smaller mistakes and didn't get the top 1k time yet. The next time I hit the triangle line, I fell behind my already too slow PB and decided to try the pool skip. Out of nowhere, I landed it and kept more speed through the rest of the map, getting me into the top 1000 on the leaderboard. I had checked other people play map 20 and saw that the road number 4 looked the most promising. Although it was a very technically demanding route, and I realized it would take many attempts to get around with no big mistakes. The first finish with this route I got... Wait, did fucking Yoda write my voiceover lines? The first finish I got with this route had some, let's say, suboptimal lines, but it still PB'd by over 3 seconds. As I gained another second, it was enough for the other time, but there was still plenty of mistakes in my run, which the leaderboard made pretty apparent. Apart from the ending being difficult, for some reason, the entry to the 270 turn felt completely illegal. I was able to get another 2-second improvement with a crash in the ending, followed by my first no crash run, but it wasn't good enough for the top 1000 yet. After a run with a decent 270, losing only most of my speed on the sharp turn after, and not crashing the ending, I just about got into the top 1000 on the leaderboard. However, another 4 seconds seemed a bit suspicious, and as I checked the replay, well, I was just thankful not 1000 players had done this. I was now done with 20 of the 25 maps, and very happy about my pace of progress, as the longest I've taken on a map was the 90 minutes I spent on map 15. However, this was about to change. This was about to really change. Historically, map 21 has been a tech track with a very difficult author time, and this season would be no exception. On these maps, the way to gain time mostly comes down to pushing more and more out of each section, and as I was struggling to even drive a couple of turns without crashing, I knew I had some work to do. As I got my first good run and a massive new PV, I was only surprised by the amount of active Finnish players. During the first 2 hours, I was able to get another huge improvement, as well as the gold medal, and a couple of smaller PVs afterwards, putting me somewhat close to the author time. As I couldn't play the next day and all my muscle memory was basically gone, it's a good time to look at the track. The track starts with a booster into a downhill, where a small steering movement is needed to avoid airtime. After some drifting and a loop section, we arrive at my first pain point on the map. As if like half my runs even get to this point. Getting this drift and aiming for the road up top without hitting the pillars or having a bad line into the road border was causing me enough pain that I still remember this 3 months later. After a couple of more turns, I needed to get this twisted spaghetti mess with enough speed to make the jump after. My biggest issue, however, is conveniently placed at the end of the map. This ramp into the long drift was so hard I didn't really get it good once in the first 2 sessions of grinding. The slide before the finish jump I was also failing often, probably due to never having the intended speed. Now imagine putting all of that together just to PB by 25 milliseconds and that being all you have to show for a 90-minute hunting session. But the most difficult thing about this map is driving a solid run through most of the map and losing 0.4 by just losing. At this point, my PB still didn't have the long drift implemented, which I could use to gain a huge amount of time and finally get the author time. Not even close. After 5 hours of grinding the map over multiple days, I mean it's not that bad, some players have grinded one map for hundreds of hours, but you know I'm kind of a casual. A casual who was able to enter the last sections of the map after building a lead of an entire 10th of a second. As I got the drift, I felt that this run was special. so special I decided to fully risk the ending. I had done it. After 5 hours of grinding, hundreds of attempts, dozens of runs that died in the final 2 drifts, I had finally beat this author time. As I couldn't play the following day, I could at least have the peace of mind knowing that the next time I launch this game, I can continue the challenge from the same map because I still need about 1000 ranks for f***'s sake. The next time I started the map, I saw I had gained some ranks when I was gone. At first, I thought that this was just another YOLO ban wave, however the time was also different. I mean, the leaderboard actually doesn't update automatically. Hello, 5-year anniversary racing game, by the way. After being back on the track after 1 day of not playing, I got this run where I basically tailed my PP half of the map, unable to get ahead at any point. And that's the only notable thing that happened during an almost 2-hour session. This felt like a great day, I think. Well, in the edit at least I can say this was a great day. I was getting many attempts to the end of the map, staying close to my PP. And finally, the run I was waiting for. Having a lead of over 0.3 of a second entering the final section. Safe drift, lost a bit, but it's fine as long as I don't fail the ending. Even though I also lost speed in the ending too, I still kept enough of a lead and reached my goal of top 1000 in 7.5 hours of total hunting time. And just when I celebrated being done with my biggest pain point in the campaign, I entered a full speed map. Yep, I have another problem. Which became even more apparent when I had lost 1.5 seconds to my PP without crashing even when my PP was like 3 seconds behind the AD. I was able to gain 0.2 on my PP just by doing a more inside start line. I then proceeded to fail a speed slide, and another one, and another one, and wait, oh, another one, and this one too, for good measure. Somehow my PP had lost a lot of speed on the final wall ride, and I was able to beat it by almost half a second, but this is where the easy improvements ended. Or so I thought. I was able to squeeze another 0.1 on the start, and hit a half a speed slide, and even a better one here. And all of a sudden I was 0.7 ahead. But somehow I lost speed and my PP almost caught up. Now that my PP had a good start, this is how my attempts look like. Just being slower, even when I'm trying the same lines. However, due to my PP's bad ending speed, I was able to overtake and finish the map for a massive new improvement, breaking the final minute barrier on the map. Now that my PP had a bad start, it was a bit nicer not being behind all the time. And when I was ahead and kept the speed and got this slide, another huge improvement was in my sights. But I blinked for a bit and yeah. Also for this uphill I started to use action keys for the SD, as well as the turn after, apparently. I ended the day with a very good run. Basically I got all the speed slides, even the small one, and finished the map still almost a second behind the author time. At this point I had done all the tricks in the map, I just needed to do all of them better. During the 90 minutes I spent playing on this day, I was able to PP twice for a total of 170 millisecond improvement. Now just 550 to go. Also I wasn't able to play this day, so... This was the final day before I would be gone for the weekend, meaning if I didn't get the run today, all my muscle memory would be totally gone. Also, you might wonder why I'm going so wide in the start. This is a line I spied from the rank 1 record at the time, but it's just slower, so I don't know. And after I got a good run with it, being able to catch up the time I lost in the start and keep more speed for the ending, I got a massive new improvement. Now, if only I didn't lose the 0.2 in the start, it still wouldn't have been enough for sake. However, after going back to my old start line, I found out that I couldn't stay ahead of my PP for very long. I figured maybe the wider line is worth it for the extra speed, but I only get 4 more speed, so I don't know. I did go back to the wider start line and kept grinding the rest of the day, but I couldn't get another improvement. And when I say rest of the day, I mean like 30 minutes to an hour, cause I'm a casual pleb. Back from a weekend trip, now I needed to build back all the muscle memory that took me hours to... oh, that was fast. As I don't understand speed sliding, the map at this point was about repeating the same line, trying to stay within a couple of hundredths of a second from my PP, hoping to finish slightly faster. And I was able to do so, a couple of times, until I was only missing about 1/10 of a second. And now the run I was waiting for, combining all the tricks I discovered and stole and don't understand at all. On couple of SDs, I used a mix of an action key and tapping to keep a smoother line. During the first sections, I was able to pull ahead by 500ths of a second. 5 more to go. On the uphill turn, I stopped steering on the entry to avoid auto sliding, after which I used a mid-slide action key switch to adjust the slide. Dude, this run is peak gaming. I even got this small auto slide and another one after the wall ride, although this was not intended. Anyway, I kept so much speed through the ending that I PB'd by over 1/3 of a second. Now I just need to climb another 1000 ranks, never mind the early access leaderboard just needed a manual reload. Dude, that scared me so bad at the time, I almost had nightmares about it. Not that I know what it means. Map 23 was quite the contrast to the previous maps, with its theme being low speed and awkward plastic gears. Other than the start, the most notable sections of the map were this crash section, where I needed to use these bumps to avoid some of the penalty, this turnaround where the gear was very easy to drop, these wall rides, which I wasn't using at the time for some reason, and finally the easy PF ending that no one would ever fail, right? The first headache was the gear in the start. I was able to get it by going down on the plastic, but this resulted in an awkward line afterwards. It was still enough to improve though. My next improvement was a result of a cleaner turnaround that get more speed, which by the way snowballs a long way, so this part is really important. Also, I had an interesting trick for the ending. It is crazy to me how the 2 previous author times took me over 5 hours each and this one took like 10 minutes. Like, do they not validate for consistent difficulty or something? As I checked the record, I saw the other crash bump being used, as well as an interesting turnaround line. Honestly, I had completely forgot about plastic wheels being a thing. Also, it was possible to stay on the same side in the ending, probably not too hard, but not too vital either. I tried the other crash bump, but concluded that it wasn't any good. On the turnaround, I dropped to second gear, but decided to try out the first wall ride, and what a difference it made. I also tried to line up for the same side ending, but did it one jump too early, whoops. With the wall ride speed hack, I was getting many good attempts to the end, which was free, but I just kept throwing all of them. Finally got a clean run and it nearly got me to the top 1k. On the next day, I started to learn the start as well as the better crash bump, and I was on pace for a massive new improvement. I decided to even implement the riskier same side ending that would save like 1/10 of a second, and I fucked it up. Another small BB, not good enough though. I somehow gained 0.6 on my BB to the final section of the map. All I needed was to PF for a safe end, and it was too much to ask for. Finally a BB run with the ending cleared. Bro, how do you even hit that? On the next day, I didn't get to play, so again, muscle memory gone, but I kind of just instantly one-shot the run out of nowhere. Maybe I should try to not play more often. The theme of map 24 was these ice slides into the boosters. All I knew was that I should aim for a little over 90 degrees angle when entering the boosters. Then there was this one drift that I struggled with, obviously, but outside of that I felt the map was pretty basic. I quickly got the gold and the author medal. The map felt a lot easier than the last 3, although the boosters did feel a bit random at times. Anyway, I got my first clean run after less than 2 hours of playing, and it was immediately enough for the top 1000 cause you guys are trash on ice, I don't know. So we are back at the 5-minute trial map. Great. Now I had seen some runs on the map and spent a bit of time figuring some cuts. Clean. Don't mind me, just a normal airtime reduction trick. And my PB is already at the finish line. Now, of course, I had many respawns and my lines needed a bit of special care, but I still felt a bit hopeless needing to gain another 2 minutes and then some for another PB. To get some warm up on all parts of the map, I was finishing each attempt, no matter how bad it was. Wow, that was a very creative line. After a couple more 6-minute runs, I got close to my PB with a 5:18. At this point, I was losing a huge amount of time on respawns, and whatever the I did in the start. To avoid some of the respawns, I was taking each section as safely as I could. My plan was to get rid of the respawns first and figure out the speed afterwards. This made my pipe sections very slow, but still faster than respawning. I didn't yet implement the green section cut, because I still didn't really have it figured out. I also scrapped ideas of the blue ramp cut. It didn't save enough time for such a hard cut, and I had my share of nonsense plastic bounces on Dip Dip 2 anyway. I had a 20-second lead while taking the huge jump to the red section of the map, and somehow I was able to land it quite smoothly, increasing my lead even more. I lost some time on the black section due to a suboptimal landing as well as one respawn, on a completely trivial part of course. I was able to finish the map with a time of 4 minutes and 43 seconds, securing myself the final author medal of the campaign as well as a spot in the top 14,000. Wait, no, that's the leaderboard again, dude. How is this thing not updating? And what is this? For my next finish, I wanted to get rid of my one respawn as well as take each pipe section a little bit faster. I had given the green section cut some attention at this point, but decided to leave it out as I had over a 10-second lead to my PP. During the blue section, I had grown my lead to 14 seconds, now it was time to gamble it all on this giant reactor jump. I got it even better than my PP. At this point my nerves really kicked in. Probably. I just needed to finish the rest of the map with no respawns, which should be easy considering that the reactor jump is the final difficult part of the map. My run has no respawns and the top records were at this point on the finish line. Cool. I even got a decent jump skip in the ending and I was able to take my PP to around 420. As I had taken an entire minute of my PP the previous day, I was confident that the top 1k wouldn't take me long. Especially since I decided to start implementing the green section cut on my runs. However, I kept failing runs on stupid little things, pipe sections and the reactor jump, and more stupid little things. With my best run of the day ending like this, it was time to just wait for a new one. As the sun set on a new day, it was time to reverse yesterday's frustrations. And the map, apparently. And this is how my first decent backslide attempt looked like. Yay! I was able to finally drive another finish on the map, but had lost about 30 seconds to my BB, as well as missed a checkpoint somewhere. At this point I decided to check the record ahead of me on the leaderboard. Now I had already seen the top times and the fastest lines, but that's not what I was looking for. I wanted to see if players around my level had found some safer setups or lines that I could use to get more runs to the end. So I was basically looking for consistency, and consistency I did not find. The guy is basically full speeding the pipes. What? As I saw my BB driving an entire pipe section behind, I was confused how our times were equal. Hollow didn't use the green section cut, but these full speed pipes are probably equal to my safe cut anyway. When I clicked on a record around my level for consistent safe lines, I didn't expect to see some of the most suicidal driving I've ever seen. I mean, what on earth is this line? And in case someone is confused, he didn't drive through the spinning sign, they just don't work properly on replays because 5-year anniversary, by the way. Now the part I was curious about, the reactor jump. Okay, so other players don't have a consistent way to do this either. At this point my BB was so far behind and there were no obstacles remaining. How on earth did I catch up? Oh, that's unlucky. I love how two completely different looking runs can finish so equal. Anyway, back to figuring out the reactor jump. I tried the backslide on some attempts I had already failed, but it was really hard to set up and even harder to control. Then I remembered the double respawn. It loses a couple of seconds, but if I could find a consistent way from the respawn, it would easily be worth it to me. Unsurprisingly perhaps, I didn't find anything. Sometime later, I got a new BB, but lost so much time in the black section, aka the easiest section with no obstacles even, that it wasn't enough. But then, the attempt where everything aligned. Enough at least. Entering the blue section, I was basically equal to my BB. I overtook and was able to grow my lead to over half a second. A wheel clip, a fatal mistake that could cost me the run. But I pushed on, as my BB had one of the worst endings. I knew I could catch up. It all came down to the reactor jump, and all the stuff afterwards. I was able to get a low water bounce and keep a lot more speed than my BB. Entering the black section with a over 10-second lead, I knew this was the run, as long as I didn't mess anything up. How on earth did that work out? Apart from this small hiccup, I was able to keep it together and finish the run 11 seconds faster than my previous record, securing myself a top 1k rank on the leaderboard. I had done it. After over 32 hours of grinding over several weeks, I have finally driven a top 1000 time on each of the official campaign maps. Well,